Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is another video in the series on Cheshire churches. In the last video we looked at the church at Swettenham, and in this video we're looking at one of the great examples of the timber frame church, which is the Church of All Saints, Siddington. Now, the appearance you can see behind me, this riot of black and white, is slightly misleading because, in fact, the church has been encased in brick in the early 19th century, and that happened because of a re-roofing idea. Originally, it was roofed in thatch, and of course, thatch needs replacing on a fairly regular basis. So some bright spark said, well, let's replace it with Kerridge stone slabs, forgetting, of course, that Kerridge stone slabs weigh many, many times the same as the same area of thatch. The result, of course, was that the walls started splaying outwards, and they had to encase the church to basically prevent it falling down. Nevertheless, this is a 14th century medieval timber frame church with later additions. As we go around, we'll see what some of these additions are, but at the same time we also see the character of these 14th century churches. Now, at some point I want to do a video of the nearby church at Marton. It wasn't open this morning, so go back at some point, because Marton is one of the most intact of them. Also at some point want to go on to do Pever, which is the biggest and also quite intact and incredibly splendid. But this is Siddington. So we'll have a look around and see what we can see. So as usual, we start at the west end. Now, Siddington is one of the churches on the estate of the Capesthorne Davenports. The Davenports still live at Capesthorne, and the villages, say Marton and Siddington, and of course Capesthorne village, what there is of it, are all estate villages. So this church has benefited from the Davenports and their generosity over the years. Also, the Davenports have historically been the patrons, and they were the people responsible for appointing the clergy. Well, the walls, as I say, really this sort of black and white, this is fake timbering, but there is a timber frame in there. It's just been encased in brick. But the roof timbers are genuine medieval. And you can see how they come out here. And in here, if we can see it, just put the camera as close as possible. Here we have a hole in that brick encasing showing the original timber, part of the original timber frame. That's the sound of thermal expansion. It's quite sunny here, and I think things are warming up and expanding. So that's part of the original frame in there. Because of all the stained glass, it can get quite gloomy on a grey day, but today is a nice, bright and sunny day. Here you can see we have a chancel screen, also known as a rood screen, because what it would have been the rood, the crucifix with usually figures of the Virgin Mary and St. John. The pulpit actually comes from Marton and is dated 1633. So this is originally part of a three-decker, and it's not original to here. The chancel screen does look to at least be partially medieval. It's probably restored. We've got some interesting stained glass here. We have so they passed over and all the trumpets sounded for them on the other side. And this is the War Memorial window, the pilgrims. So there's that. And here we have memorial to Lieutenant Colonel Wilfrith Elstore, VC DSO MG, and of course VC is Victoria Cross. 16th Manchester Regiment, 1st City Battalion, 3rd son of the Vicar of this parish, killed in action whilst commanding his battalion in the famous defence of Manchester Hill, France, 21st of March, 1918, aged 29. The Manchester Regiment will defend Manchester Hill to the last. And so there we are, and there's the gentleman, and there's his father beside him. And there we are looking west. We have a nice organ gallery. It is just an organ gallery. There probably would have been a singer's gallery there, and it may have been the singer's gallery before it became the organ gallery. But with the change from the rustic band, as we saw the fiddle there back at Swettenham, to the organ. And here we have St Maurice and St Alban. This again is a window dedicated to the glorious undying memory of the Siddington and Capesthorne men who gave their lives for England in the Great War, August 1914 to November 1918. So Lieutenant Colonel Wilfrith Elstore, Lance Corporal Alfred Taylor, Private Arthur Bourne, Private John Bradley, Private Nathan Bradley, Private Ernest Dingle. And two Bradleys, they probably would be brothers. So this, in fact, is the Second World War window. John Bromley Davenport, captain of the Cheshire Regiment, and of course that's the big house family. Gerald Norbury, Private Cameron Highlanders, Douglas Bradley, Pilot Officer RAF, and in memory of and in thankfulness to Almighty God for our men and women who served and returned safely to their homes, and for the preservation of this village. This window was given by the parishioners. So this is the Second World War window over there. And again, you've got both people in important parts of for important families, and you've got ordinary folk, private there, and another Bradley. Here we have the window of the Annunciation, and I apologise for the fact the sunlight's shining through it. I can't do much about that, of course. And on the other hand, yes, there we are, St George and King Alfred, who dies if England live. And this, of course, is a memorial to Lieutenant Colonel Elstore. That very nice 17th century pulpit. And here we have the organ console, which is nicely disguised, so it's not immediately obvious. And on the other side, we have the reading desk. It's quite common to find the Victorians balancing a reading desk on one side and a pulpit on the other. And you've got this rather nice pierced screen. So yes, it does look like a medieval screen, given the state of it. And up into the chancel. And here, this is the original woodwork. You can see here this wooden column, as it were, this post that then branches out the nice flat style ceiling there. And we have here St James, St Peter and St John, David, Isaiah and Daniel. Can't really see it very well, that one. And here we have St Augustine and St Monica. So Augustine is a young man, and Monica his mother, of course. St Albans, St Gregory and the Venerable Bede, St Stephen, St John the Baptist and St Agnes. And the east window is Te Deum, Thou art the King of glory, O Christ. And obviously his decoration is 19th century. That's the Mothers' Union banner, and then the church banner. And these would have been carried in processions back in the day. So there we have Christ in glory in the east window. So we can then turn around here, and here we do have genuine wood in the walls, and you can see that you've got this nice screen then, and they've opened it up either side to give them the pulpit and the reading desk, and straight down the middle. And of course the reading desk is used by the clergyman for most of the service, and then he will get into the pulpit for the sermon only. It's something that's it's not unique to Anglicanism, of course, but it's a very Anglican way of doing things, having these separate locations for separate parts of the service. So the sun has gone behind a cloud again, and you can see how gloomy it gets in here when that happens, because we've got all this stained glass, and we've got the walls are not whitewashed, but we've got this imitation of very, very closely spaced timbering. So that's the inside here at Siddington, just stroll down the centre aisle as I realise I've forgotten to look at the font. Now, the font is not very interesting here. It is just a 19th century font, and it is very, very gloomy in here at the moment. But there is the font, just a simple octagonal bowl with quatrefoils carved on it. Well, as it gets quite gloomy, we shall go outside and it'll be brighter out there. Give me a moment. There's the font. And so here we are outside at Siddington. Now, the facade here is visible from the main road from Congleton to Manchester, which you may be able to hear because it is a main road. And it's actually quite misleading because just like the interior, this woodwork is imitation. It's painted on the brick that was put in place of the, or over the wood because of that problem with replacing the roof with carriage stone, whereas it was originally supposed to be thatched. But nevertheless, you've got this rather nice bellcot here, and it makes a really good landmark, and that's why it's been painted in imitation of the woodwork that is actually underneath there, although probably not exactly the same pattern. Well, let's have a look around the outside now. And so, as we've said, the paint here is, well, the black and white here is just paint. Apart from the bell turret, bellcot, which is actually timber framed, but the window openings are as original, and again, it's all based, because it's all based around what you can do with wood. It's all quite simple in its own way. As we move around, in fact, what we'll do is we'll move around the north side first, and then come around the south for a variety of reasons. We've got the big west door that's not used most of the time. That is a processional doorway, as it originally would have been. And the north side is, of course, you've got these flat grave slabs, which is quite a common thing around here. And the vestry here, which is again wooden, because and you can see that lean on the vestry, and that's a reminder of why, as you can see, the nave, and the nave only, is encased in brick, with these windows, and of course those are wooden window frames in there. And we've got here the oil house in the basement. So this rather nice early 19th century brick, and as I said, at Swettenham you can tell what date brick is by the size of it, because the older the brick is, it tends to be the narrower the bricks are. And here we have the still timber framed, the original timber framing of the East End, the chancel, and these flat-headed windows, because it's easy to do that with timber. It's harder to do pointy windows with timber and to still have the same level of strength. And I apologise for I didn't apologise for the traffic noise. The traffic noise is just way back near a main road. There will be traffic noise. The location, the East End, looks down at little brook that babble as it flow, as they say. So, little brook in the valley, in the village. And here is the East End, and you can see how it's jettied out here above the east window, making for a very, very impressive structure. And here, in fact, we do have this tightly spaced timber framing, so maybe the timber imitation on the outside of the west wall does approximate what is actually underneath it. And again, you've got this brickwork. You can see how the brick is built with these arches over the windows, which it has to be in order to provide the necessary strength to keep the building from falling down. Because again, if you don't, and again here we have a number of memorials, tombs of notables. This great big table tomb, Victorian, and the porch. And here is the cross, the churchyard cross. Now this is the base of the medieval churchyard cross with a later top on it. It's quite overgrown with ivy, and it's a splendid example of these old churchyard crosses. So that's the outside here then at All Saints Siddington, and a lovely building it is too. So we'll just pull back here because we want to get a good picture, a bit of footage of the exterior, and particularly on the south side. And it's quite nice and rustic with its timber frame chancel and the brick encased nave. You can see those massive carriage stone slabs, which are, as is usual, as is sensible, the largest ones are on the outside and on the lower portion, and they get smaller as they go up because you've got to do something about distributing your weight properly, even if there's still too much weight up there for the timber of the nave to support. So there we are, Siddington All Saints. And so there we have it, All Saints Church, Siddington, this magnificent structure sat pretty close to a main road, and this building that, again, that reflects how things have changed over time. Once more, it's a situation where the Victorians didn't want, I think here, rather than couldn't afford to, they didn't want, like Swettenham even, the Victorians, they had plenty of money. You can see if you go to Capesthorne Hall, they had lots of money, but they didn't want to rebuild the church, they didn't want to destroy the old historic building. Instead, they kept it and restored it so that it remains this rather rustic, lovely medieval church with its Victorian, or rather pre-Victorian, early 19th century, 1810s brick shell. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. I do love these little churches out here. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.